Hey, so let's make some sound effects and let's do it so it's easy and simple. Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to, many people I know actually make sound effects to do them this exaggerated. They break down the letters like this. They'll make one letter, and then they'll make another, and then another, and then they'll move it all around and create folders and stuff. But you don't have to do this, and I find it to be annoying and hard to manage. It's more flexible in many ways, but I think it's a level of flexibility you don't need unless you really have a strong visual intended. So instead, let us do something simpler that looks almost as good as if you were to move them around like that. So just grab your text tool here and just click anywhere. Do not drag and select. This is useful for making text boxes, for script and dialogue, but not for sound effects. You'll see why in a bit. So let's just click. Make sure your justification is to the left. This helps out a lot of stuff, especially when you're trying to attach it to a what's it called? A spine? No, a spline? No. When you try to attach it to a path. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you, I'm going to do the same effect here and show you how you can get this. When you type out normally, what you get is something like this. And it doesn't look as good. And let's see, we're using the same font and everything. So this is the same font. And when one font looks nice and the other font doesn't look nice. So what I'm thinking here, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to grab this, go to the text tool. And there's a few ways to get your text tool. I believe it's under tool preset like this. No, it's paragraph, I believe, or character. View character. What I end up doing because I'm lazy is I just go into tool selection mode by pressing T and clicking anywhere in the text field and then pressing Control T and it'll pop it up anyway. So that's your shortcut to get to that tool. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your first letter, and while holding Alt, what Alt does is it actually slows down this process so that it's actually usable. You're going to use these little features and then just drag them. One is up, scale up and down, one is scale left and right, and one is up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to take that. Actually, I'm going to take the whole batch here and I'm going to make sure that these words are closer together, I think. Can I do it with that? I'm going to get them closer because sound effects tend to be a little closer with the letters. So we're just going to take that. And it's just going to be this process here. You're just going to expand or shrink. You're going to move your words up. I don't think that's what we need. We need this one. You're going to move your letters up and down. Let's grab 3 of these, move these way down. And make this one smaller. And then some of the things that are a little annoying is that this distancing thing works for the word in front of it. So you have to select the word in front of the one you want to make a distance. So it's a little annoying to do that, but it works. And then you can scale this a little bit, drop it down. Maybe we can drop that down a bit. And then we can scale, make a little shape there, increase the size, and then drop this down some more. And that's kind of it. Like it seems a little complicated, but it really isn't. You're just kind of grabbing the letters. And I'll tell you what, this is way funner and simpler. Funner and simpler than just doing it the old-fashioned way, which I've seen people do it and it just drives me bonkers. So one of the things you'll notice is that, that's a little static and it doesn't have as much variation. Thanks. It doesn't have as much variation, but one thing we can do is we can change the stroke and drop shadow. So I wanted these words a little thicker, and the bold only goes so far. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to cheat. So I'll grab the stroke, and I'll make the stroke the same thickness, the same color as the body. And I'll do that to like a 2. And then I'll go to drop shadow. And the drop shadow will now become my stroke. So I'm just going to go to normal, put that opacity at the top. Distance to 0, so it's equal all around. Spread to 100. There we go. We got our new outline. It's almost exactly like. And then we picked a new color. And now we have a big cartoony bioing thing going. So that's great. And that's a lot better than just, here I'll show you what it looked like just a few seconds ago. That's way better. I can go 3. Let's go to 2 was fine. If you grab the tool here and then just write bioing, you know, it'll look like this. Of course, you know, all our settings are set to nothing, so we got to throw back these to what they normally are. You want to set these all back to 0. Make sure this doesn't creep on you. It gets a little annoying if you don't set these back to what their standards are. There. 100. Alright. Well, I don't know what opticals and metrics are, but I'm going to assume there's something important. 0. Anyway, so there that is. There's a little bit more we can do. Let's just go back to this thing. So there's 2 little things you can do. First, you can press Control T and then go to your warp tool and warp. And I'm just grabbing one of these functions. You can scrub it like this, or you can scrub it like this. And you can do something like that. Same thing for these values. You know, or you can exaggerate like this. I try not to distort a font too gravely based on its original ratio. I find it looks a little amateurish to modify it too much. So if we go Control T, select the warp tool. Sorry, this is warp text or something, deformation. I forget the real word for it. And go to flag or whatever feature you want. Maybe you want an arch, you know, and then you find the shape you want, and then you've got all the exaggerations you have exactly how you want. Last tool, and this one I try to avoid because it's just a little bit annoying, is you create a path here. One of the issues I have with this tool is that I don't know how to I'm actually kind of stupid when it comes to this. I don't know how to attach a text to one of these without it being having to make it from fresh. And I'm sure there's a way to do it. Oh, you can just copy paste and it sort of does it. Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too hard. Copy paste. You have to actually go in, select everything, Control C, and then paste it into the new field. But I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Photoshop. There's always a thing with Photoshop, but sometimes this path tool disappears, and then you're out of luck. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, and it's not always clear when it's going to show up, and it's a little annoying. But here it is. If you really need 100% control on what's happening here, I think this shortens it. Oops. I think that moves this one. If you really need a lot of control, this is how you're going to do it. And then Control T will allow you to modify that. And now I have a real strong effect that you can, if you have to translate your comic into a new language, you can just go one letter at a time. That's the only annoying part is if you need to change these letters, you have to do them one at a time. So you can go, say in a fake language, bioing is Baruka. So I'd have to go B A R U K. All right. So it'll keep all that size the same, which is great. But as you can see in this format, it's not as nice looking. We might have to do a little bit of spacing. So I have to go back here and then just kind of move the spacing a bit so things are just a little bit more legible. One of the things you can't do is rotate every individual letter. So like I said, there are limitations. If you really want to rotate those letters, you can't really do it with this process unless someone knows better. There is no real way to do that. So you have to live with some of the limitations. But on the other hand, once you've made this effect, you can toss this in a folder of a bunch of effects and just drag and drop the ones you like you've already made, you know, and then just retype them out. And then now if I need a new effect, you just duplicate it into a new folder. You can either drag and drop it or click on it like this and go right click, duplicate layer to the new layer you have in mind. And then you just rename it. So let's say I'm like, I want, because I'm 12. Oops, I wanted the last one to be a big R. Let's go like this. Maybe not like how I want it. Let's undo this again. I think I want this F, delete this B, A, R, and then let's make this the T. No, let's make the K a T, and then delete the rest. Let's go back here, and let's just schmoop this over a bit. If I still want the same style. And at any point, of course, you can change the font or the words. The font changing is probably going to affect it just a little bit. Oh, just so you know, it doesn't really like to move things that have inconsistent spacing. So once you move something down, you're going to have to move these back up manually one at a time. That's a little annoying. There's no reason it has to do that, but that's just the limitation it has. And then let's go like that. Move that back up. Always holding Alt, guys, because Alt will make it way more controllable instead of it zipping around like a maniac. So now we got a new effect. You know, let's just try a new font first, just quickly. You know, some fonts work, some fonts don't. And but now you have a pretty strong effect, sound effect that you can use over and over. Oh, and if you look, we still have this path, this crazy path. Let's go back to the font that works so we can see what's happening. And then you can still edit this path. So maybe you will like paths because you can easily modify the shape without having to do too much work. Maybe you like that. I'm going to delete this thing here. Delete this path node. I don't need it. Then I'm going to move this all the way back. All right, so now we've got this single path, and I can just kind of modify this how I want. Yeah, to move the thing back and forth, I didn't know this until recently because I wasn't paying attention. You just hover over that point, your cursor will change like this, and you just move it. And then you just do this. You do what you need, how you need it. It jumbles up a lot because it's trying to compress things in a weird way. But yeah, just kind of once you have the font of the thing like this. I mean, if you duplicate this again, right? And I grab this and I move this and I grab this tool. Hopefully it pop up again. Yeah, it does. And then you do this again. You know, maybe you will get a variation we like. I'm going to soften this out a bit. And then Control T. And then now we have two versions of it that aren't exactly the same. They won't line up and it won't feel like you've duplicated it, which is really important. Sometimes you want the same word twice, and it's not that you want it to be written completely differently. You just don't want it to look like it's copied. And modifying something just slightly, you know, turning the corner or modifying its shape, etc., or just changing the spline. Sorry, it's named different in different programs. The path or whatever it's called in this. Let's see what it's called. Pen tool, line, whatever it's called. That thing, this thing, will help you out. to make things look kind of natural and different, but the same. Here it tries to follow the path. And remember, you can still, once you've got this effect here, you can still go into the Control T here. You can still deform this shape with this all you want. So if you need to edit the spine like really specifically, you can do that. And if you can press Control H and hide that and just do Control T again on this shape. Now keep in mind, it's going to take a huge visible area because it's taking in consideration the spline, the path and everything in one go. So it's not really entirely accurate, but then you can go here and you can do a deformation on this as a whole package. And that may seem kind of crazy and not helpful, but it helps, like I said, it helps vary your shapes again in a way that's just slightly different that you might like. You know? And now you have your variations. And that's it. Thanks, guys. Take care.